Friday marks the end of our weekly newscast. Good evening to our global audience and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Selima Shumweveleni Masipa. Labour statistics lead the bulletin tonight. The Public Service Commission has revealed that men account for 54% of executive positions in the public sector, while the remaining 46% is occupied by women. Prime Rose Harases compiled our lead report.
The remaining 46% is occupied by women. Public Service Commission Chairperson Salman Jacobs said while unveiling the latest PSC statistics contained in the annual report for the financial year 2021-2022 in the capital on Wednesday. He said Namibia, out of the 71,305 public servants, excluding the Namibian Defence Force, Namibian Police Force, prisons and correctional service personnel, has 63% women and 37% men in the lower categories. On management level, the roles are reversed. The total staffing in the public service is 107,654. Jacobs said this during his first public address as the newly appointed PSC chairperson, effective the 1st of December 2022, to staff members from the Department of the Public Service Commission Secretariat and Department of Public Service Management. He also noted the dire implications the pandemic had on public sector workers. Furthermore, to their annual report, Jacobs announced that the Commission will start providing annual addresses to their staff and the public as well about the Commission's work. It will focus on what the Commission did the previous year, the challenges faced by the Commission during that period, and proposals to improve on these challenges, as well as the way forward, he added. Reporting for Nampa TV, I'm Michael Madimba.
On to youth matters. Deputy Minister of Sport, Youth and National Service, Emma Kantema Gomez, has urged the youth to hold the National Youth Council accountable. She made the remarks at the inaugural meeting of the Task Force on the implementation of the recommendation of the African Peer Review Mechanism on youth unemployment in Namibia in the capital today. Let's have a listen.
Because for us in the youth sector, we say nothing for the youth without the youth. And I'm glad that the NYC is taking that responsibility, because we want to ensure that the conversation reaches the very important stakeholders that we are doing this work for. And I'm really using this opportunity again to urge the youth out there to hold the National Youth Council accountable. You know, often when you present policies, when you present report, the question that comes out there is that, how sure are we that you're going to implement? So hold the National Youth Council responsible, please, and accountable. I think I'm one of the happiest person today. I'm in high spirit because I'm not new to the APRM. We started in 2019, back then when I was still executive director, when the assessment was done, which I have to say was very much comprehensive. Because when you look at the targeted review report on youth employment, it's how it was termed, not youth unemployment. It really it follows a diagnostic approach. And I urge all of you to familiarize yourself with that report. I have mine on my cell phone, so now and then I do check on those recommendations. As a leading institution, we are really pleased to see that youth is being mainstreamed in all offices, ministries and agencies. As the National Plan of Action also requires that various OMAs take on these responsibilities to ensure that we mainstream the various recommendations.
Meanwhile, the National Youth Council Executive Chairperson, Sharonese Bush, earlier today announced that Namibia will be hosting the African Peer Review Mechanism Youth Symposium later in November this year. Once again, let's listen in.
I would want to announce that through government, the National Youth Council, our line ministry, and the National Secretariat, we are also looking forward to host the 4th APRM Youth Symposium in November. Honourable Minister, we are ready as NYC to assist the ministry in coordinating that very big event that will bring together youth leaders across the continent, but particularly youth leaders within our country, to host a youth symposium that facilitates dialogue around policy issues affecting the young people. The National Youth Council, colleagues, for your information, was established in 1994 by government. We are an organization of government with the legislation, like I've said, the National Youth Council Act number 3 of 2009, with a primary mandate to champion and fast-track youth development in the country. We have a unique structure in the sense that we are youth-led. a board that is under the age of 35 years, including myself as your executive chair, elected by the Namibian young people. Therefore, government's priority towards youth development cannot be questioned because it has a dedicated organization that is supported by the state to drive the youth agenda in the country. The Youth Council has structures throughout the country, which we call the regional youth forums. These are structures in all 14 regions that are youth-led, that does our work at a decentralized level to ensure that we impact, we have access, and we work with our youth at a grassroots level.
Switching attention to crime-related matters, a 25-year-old male driver of a Volkswagen Golf R sedan was recently arrested after he was allegedly intercepted with a kilogram of cannabis in his vehicle on the B1 road between Otjiwarongo and Okahanja. Our correspondent in the region filed this story.
Namibian Police Force spokesperson in the Otjiwarongo region, Inspector Maureen Beer, in an interview with NAMPA on Thursday, said the cannabis was found stashed under the vehicle's driver's seat. Beer said they had reliable information about his drug dealings, as well as his possession of the drugs destined for Otjiwarongo from Windhoek. The police official stated that the suspect was apprehended at a mobile police roadblock on the B1 road, some 51 kilometers south of Otjiwarongo. Vehicles were randomly stopped and searched, and at around 1700 hours, the drugs with an estimated street value of 50,000 Namibian dollars were intercepted, added Mbeya. The suspect was formally charged on Thursday and is expected to appear in the Otjiwarongo Magistrates Court for dealing in and opposition of prohibited drugs. Police investigations into the matter continue.
When we return, we get to find out more on the MOU entered into by CRAN and NAMRA. Welcome to the business segment. The Namibia Revenue Agency, NAMRA, and the Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia, CRAN, on Thursday signed a Memorandum of Understanding which will serve as guidance to traders. This insert, compiled by Emilia Kambuta, gives us the details.
And I must thank the team, both technical team from CRAN and from NAMRA, who worked very hard to ensure that a Memorandum of Understanding have been developed and that cover all the contemporary issues with regard to what we call typo approval, the importation of electronic and communication equipment, and of course also what would be the NAMRA's customs officials' role in the importation of those goods. Now, what was the objective of this MOU? The objective of the MOU, we have 4 points. Number one is of course to promote cooperation and coordination of the importation of communication equipment. Number two is to facilitate efficient custom procedure at various borders, and also to collaborate in capacity building. And of course, we have also agreed to set up a working committee to ensure the effective and efficient implementation of this Memorandum of Understanding.
Governor of the Bank of Namibia, Johannes Gavagab, revealed that only 6.4 million Namibian dollars was utilized out of the 500 million Namibian dollars the central bank availed for the SME Economic Recovery Scheme. The governor furnished this during the relaunch of the SME Economic Recovery Scheme in the capital yesterday. Josephine Simeon filed this report.
Keeping the sector afloat was vital to staving off further employment and preserving jobs while simultaneously stimulating the economy to enable faster recovery post-COVID-19. A total loan amount of 500 million Namibia dollars was availed through the scheme, accessible to SMEs via participating banking institutions. Sadly, I have to inform you, since the scheme's inception, only a total of 6.4 million Namibian dollars was utilized for this purpose. We set aside 500 million and we disbursed 6.4 million Namibian dollars. So we don't have to go deep into this. So what we need is we need to try and understand, and we have consulted everyone that's involved in this, and we came up with the idea to redesign the scheme. So what were the issues that made such a low take-up of the scheme? The first one was NAMRA. People were saying the good standing certificates that you require from NAMRA, that is actually a big bottleneck. We sat down and we had a good discussion with NAMRA, and I'm so glad to hear that the SMEs in the country regard NAMRA is going out of its way to assist. So for the new scheme, what we have done is SMEs with tax liabilities can participate in this scheme now on condition that they enter to some form of agreement with NAMRA. We cannot just ignore our tax liabilities and say, write off everything and we can do that. Initially, you were not allowed, but in the new scheme, you are allowed to participate in the scheme, provided you have got a discussion and arrangement of NAMFISA.
That's where we leave it with the top news for tonight. The economics roundup is up next, followed by the weather forecast. Welcome to the world of sport on Sport Planet. English Premier League football dominates tonight's segment. Manchester United's 21-year-old striker, Mason Greenwood, has had all criminal charges of attempted rape, controlling and cohesive behavior, and assault against him dropped. Thursday's decision comes just over a year after he was arrested in January 2022 and had been due to stand trial in November this year. Greater Manchester Police issued a statement on Thursday saying the decision to drop all charges had not been taken lightly, but that a combination of the withdrawal of key witnesses and new material that came to light meant there was no longer a realistic prospect of conviction. In these circumstances, we are under a duty to stop the case, the police added. Manchester United has so far not made any comment about Thursday's news. Meanwhile, mired in the Premier League relegation zone and at war with the club's board, Everton fans fear a 69-year stay in the English football's top flight is heading towards an inevitable end. Sean Dyche will take charge of the Toffees for the first time against league leaders Arsenal on Saturday. The former Burnley boss was given an early indication of the job that lies ahead of him, though as a number of potential deals collapsed on the deadline day, leaving Everton as the only Premier League club not signing a player in the January transfer window. Stand by for your sports roundup. And with the sports news, we've come to the end of our Primetime News Weekly cast. Many thanks for tuning in. Do catch us next week, Monday, for another fresh perspective on local, continental, and global happenings. From myself, Selima Shimwefeleni Masipa, and the entire collective behind the scenes, have yourself a fantastic weekend and good night.